Hello everyone, Gear Show and Teller here with another overview of a knife from my collection. Now this story starts with my buddy. His name is Alan. He was the one that got me into looking at different knives. He himself is not a collector, so he doesn't have a knife collection. He has a toolbox. That's the way I'm going to call it. His knives are functional to the need he has them for. He may look at other knives, he may get happy thoughts about holding some custom knives, but he never bought them. One, okay, he doesn't have that much money. You know, we can all resonate with that. Two, he's not a collector. He doesn't have the space that a collector would need to collect so many knives like me. So he's a functional person and I'm more of a collector. Anyway, we got to talking one day and he told me that he wished that he could have a knife with a blade, rescue cutter, seatbelt cutter, and a glass breaker all in one. So I thought about it. I said, okay, let me get into this. I got into it, I did my search on the web, and it led me back to this knife company. Okay. I reviewed the other Benchmade knives that I have in my collection. They are all from the affordable price market. I'm not sure if there's an official name for it. It was Benchmade's answer to the Tenacious family, the budget everyday carry knives. Kershaw, they outsourced their knives to China too, and so did Benchmade. Benchmade made the red class, and it was outsourced to China, which has now been discontinued, the red class. This knife is from the higher classes. Could be gold. I forget. I'm sorry. I apologize. And the knife that showed up in the search was this. The 915 Triage. And anyone here that's already familiar with knives, you know about Benchmade's quality, but also their prices, their MSRP. Now, the box, of course, comes with the usual literature that any knife is sent out with, brand new. And Benchmade sends them all out in this little pouch. And get into the knife. Right here. Here's the Benchmade Triage. Now they make this in orange. And they also have a different blade tip for this knife. I got the earlier ones. And I also didn't want it to be serrated either. I didn't want a serrated blade. I'm just not into serrated knives. I'm not. Even though it's functional, I don't like serrated knives. Well, there's your glass breaker. My buddy and I were both martial artists. He has also done more into Krav Maga and so forth, so you can imagine the other uses for that glass breaker. Here, at the very end, there's an extra nub, right there, extra stud, and this is where you can pop out the rescue hook, the seatbelt cutter. I have never cut anything with this, never needed to, not even for a test, so not even paper. This is still, well, however sharp it was, out of the box. You put the seatbelt there and cut it off, and right there, we'll talk about that in a minute, the axis lock, Benchmade's trademark. And here's your blade. It resembles more of a sheep's foot, because if you look at the tip, okay, a straight on, I'm putting reasonable amount of pressure now. You can see how far I'm pushing that into my hand, and you see the impression but no cut marks. That's the way the design of the blade was made. This knife is made just for rescue. Not made for self-defense, not so much EDC, even though it did fill that role. Not too bad. Not bad for the hand, for the grip. Some jumping up top. Now, let's talk about the features of this knife that I didn't like. That's the reason why it's in the box. I keep it in the box because I use it for a week and I just couldn't do it anymore. G10 handle scales, they're nice. Pocket clip, I found it to be flimsy and weak. I didn't like that. I felt that I was gonna bend this pocket clip out of shape one day. So it's a weak pocket clip. So what did I not like about the knife? My buddy, by the way, he loved it, and he still carries it. He loves the Triage. What did I not like about this knife? Well, oh boy, I'll start here. It's that lock. Now, you know, if you watch my other videos, this access lock looks a lot like this one. This is the Manix 2. Remember this guy? Spyderco Manix 2. With the caged, polymer caged ball bearing. The ball bearing is metal, but the cage for it is made of this clear polymer. And you can see the spring right there. It's a coil spring. Maybe you could compare it to the ones you have on your vehicle. You pull it back, and then the blade is there, and then the blade will lock. You have to pull them back on both sides. It has to be both sides. It took me a while to get used to it, but there you go. Same thing here with the access lock, right here. Now, here's what I didn't like about it. This is what other reviewers have said that, well, I'll admit it got me scared about it. Inside the scale is an Omega ring, Omega spring. If you're not familiar with Omega, that's the shape of the spring. There's actually an extra attachment here. I could have it upside down. It could be like that. Oh, there you go. That makes a lot more sense. Okay, there you go. So, the Omega spring is upside down. Upside down like that. This is what connects to the knife blade, and this one connects to the scale to add pressure. So what the Omega spring does, did I say knife blade? It attaches itself to the access lock, the bar. So what the Omega spring does, it compresses every time you pull this back. And there's two of them, one on each side of the lock, of the bar. What other YouTube reviewers have been saying is that the Omega spring is not reliable, because right here, mark that for you. Right there where I drew the line, under enough pressure of opening, closing, the Omega ring will snap right there. So it was always in the back of my mind. I mean, I like to play with this. It's fun to play with the Omega, with this access lock. Hard to show you in camera, but it just became fun. So that's one thing I didn't like. So that's the biggest reason why I just put it away. This one, the knife tip that I told you about earlier. It made it hard to poke into a package to open it. I had to do it at some strange angle and then try to poke it in that way. Whereas when I had the Manix 2, oh yeah, I don't dare put any more pressure than what I'm doing right now. That thing is sharp. That's a nice pointy tip. Excellent for opening packages for EDC. This modified sheep's foot? Nope, didn't like it. Sorry. And those are the two main things that made me not use a knife anymore. I just wanted to point this out. When I first saw the rescue hook here, the seatbelt cutter reminded me of this knife. Remember my Wolf Endura 4 with the Glock Armorer's tool? Even though these two tools serve a different purpose, it just reminded me of each other. Okay, so this is my overview of the Benchmade Triage and why this sucker is just sitting in the box. I'm not going to sell this. This is the same status as my Police 3. Remember that knife? I'm just gonna have this here until I figure out a use for it. Maybe I'll finally complete that truck bug out bag that I've always wanted. It's almost done. I have the materials in my truck. And then I'll pop this in there. Okay. Gear show and teller. See you later.